Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Trippin Up. Hey, Tripp, we know something you don't know. We know something you don't know, but you're about to find out. We know who the feature for this episode is, and we're going to see if we can trip you up. Now, in this episode, I'm going to challenge you and the viewers to name 6 of this artist's top 10 hits. That'll be in the A side. On the B side, we go beyond the wax and share some facts. And I'm going to share what I consider the worst cover song ever. That will be in the B side. And of course, then we close with Tripp's triple play selection for this episode. The artist is a 2-time inductee into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Perhaps best described or famously described as sandpaper voice, spiked hair, and liked to wear spandex. The artist, Rod Stewart.
Okay.
Rod Stewart.
Okay.
Spanning over 3 decades, he had 14 top 10 hits. Hey, I'm just looking for 6. I'm going to take a sip, give you a second, and then you can fire away when you're ready.
Well, obviously, when you talk about Rod Stewart, you got to mention the first hit, Maggie May, which was a huge hit in 1971, and that really kind of launched him here in the United States. And that was when he left the group Faces. He was with Faces. And I mean, we got to mention a Faces song, Stay With Me, which I think was a hit around the same time, too.
I think it was. That's correct.
Okay, Tonight's the Night was one of his biggest hits. Rod Stewart had a habit of having hits right at the end of a calendar year. So it was funny because on American Top 40, they would do the survey from November 1st to October 31st. And you would find these Rod Stewart songs that were hits at the end of the year would always be the year later. And it was one of those just chart anomalies that you would have. Tonight's the Night was probably his biggest hit. And I would say that would be number one on the, that would probably be number one if you were listing Rod's top songs.
Yeah, my notes indicate it was number 1 for 8 consecutive weeks back in 76. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I got 2.
You're in My Heart.
You're in My Heart, definitely on the list.
Okay. A song which I really hated, and I can hear the lyrics in my head. Passion. No, Passion was not. Passion on there?
Passion is on there. Peaked at number 5. Yeah.
Hot Legs.
Hot Legs. Oh, wow. It's not on this list.
Okay. All right. One of my favorite songs, Some Guys Have All the Luck.
Some Guys Have All the Luck. That peaked at number 6. You only need one more.
Downtown Train.
Downtown Train. I just actually listened to that one this morning. That was written by Tom Waits. That peaked at number 2. So you've got 6. Let's go through the entire list. Of course, we got Maggie May. Tonight's the Night. Going to be all right. Do ya think I'm sexy?
Sexy. That's the song I was thinking of, by the way. Yeah, I hated that song.
That makes 2 of us. That peaked at number 1, as well as All for Love. That was with Bryan Adams. Downtown Train, You're in My Heart. Have I Told You Lately? That was a Van Morrison written song.
That was from the MTV Unplugged.
Yeah, very good. That's right. Passion, Young Turks, peaked at number 5. So did Infatuation. So did This Old Heart of Mine.
That was the one I was gonna throw if the last one wasn't good, with Ronald Isley.
Some Guys Have All the Luck. 2 more that peaked within the top 10. Rhythm of My Heart.
Oh, what a great song.
And Love Touch. Now,
Forever Young was not on that list.
I was just getting ready to talk about Forever Young. Forever Young peaked at number 12. That's the song that I shared at Vinylthon.
Yes, yes.
Got a bluegrass version of it by Daniel Grindstaff. He took the number 1 with Dolly Parton as the featured vocalist on that song of Forever Young. Any other comments on the top 10 list before we get to the B-side, Trip?
Now we can flip ahead to the B side because there are comments on the songs, and I'll throw that in on the B side.
Oh, before we get to the B side, at the end of the episode, as a reminder, I'm going to ask Tripp for his 3 favorite songs from Rod Stewart that we've talked about. Let us know in the comments what your favorite Rod Stewart songs are. And let's go right to the B side. That's where we go beyond the wax and talk about some facts. Tripp, what do you got?
Well, of course, his 2 of his biggest songs were Tonight's the Night, and then You're in My Heart. And both of those songs relate to Britt Ekland, who was, of course, a very famous actress who was married to Peter Sellers, and they were together in the mid 1970s. And on Tonight's the Night, Britt Ekland is the one who has the French that is mentioned at the end of the song. And then, if you recall, a year later, they broke up, and You're in My Heart was written about Britt Ekland by Rod Stewart about that breakup. And of course, he then got married. I think he got married to his first wife shortly after that. But then Britt Ekland sued him for palimony. Now, this was at a time in the 1970s when that was a big thing. One of the things is Rod has had, George Hamilton's ex-wife was married to him for quite a while. Kelly Emberg, the model, was married to him. He's married again, and he's got, I think he's got like 8 kids. Rod is, and Rod also, he was the first guy to really kind of transition into this Vegas showcase. He would do these stands in Vegas, and he was one of the first to do that. And he also did those great American Songbook albums, a series of albums where he would redo all of these classic hits. And it started in the 40s. It was like a cottage industry. And Rod Stewart was so well known for this because, he did one from the 40s, one from the 50s, one from the 60s, and one from the 70s. And Rod Stewart, he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, member of Faces, and also on his own. He is still going strong, and he's still in Vegas and still performs in Vegas, and he's done some concerts too, but Rod has had some issues and was forced to cancel some shows last year because of health. And if I'm not mistaken, I think, isn't Rod up in his mid 80s now, Phil?
It's got to be.
Yeah, I think it's
common sense. I mean, it got to be. I don't know for sure. I'll look it up.
Rod Stewart reflects what a lot of the artists from the 70s. I mean, Rod lived the wild life. Let's be realistic, and as did a lot of the 70s rockers. And unfortunately, they're paying the price in latter years. But from all accounts, Rod still puts on a very good show. Had a chance to see him in Cleveland at the Richfield Coliseum in 1980. And of course, Rod Stewart, a very huge soccer fan, and with the song Hot Legs for many, many years, and would throw soccer balls on the stage and he would kick them out into the audience. Well, unfortunately, a few years ago, Rod Stewart got sued by somebody who got beamed by the soccer ball. And so he no longer does that. Rod the Mod is what they called him. I mean, he was always very fashionable, very Savile Row. And Rod was, and his, we talk about one of the great things, and we were talking about this with Vinylthon. The thing about vinyl was the albums and the album jackets. They were always, the album covers were, works of art. Rod Stewart was right there. I mean, he had some really great albums and memorable albums. And I'm sitting there in my mind and I'm picturing these albums, and we mentioned the song we both hate, Do You Think I'm Sexy? In fact, Do You Think I'm Sexy was a big number 1 in 1979, and it actually kept the Bee Gees out of the number 1 spot. This is when the Bee Gees were really hot, and they released the song Tragedy, and Do You Think I'm Sexy knocked them out of the number 1 spot.
You mentioned his number 1 song, first number 1, Maggie May. That originally was the B side. What was the A side?
Wasn't Stay With Me. Stay With Me was another singer.
It's actually my favorite. I'm not a big Rod Stewart fan, so I don't have any favorite songs, but Reason to Believe.
Oh yeah. And that was one of the songs Reason to Believe was one of the songs he did. Rod did the MTV Unplugged.
Yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was I think that was one of the first ones that really got notoriety that the record company released, and it was like, oh, this is great, because he did so many songs, and Reason to Believe was one of the songs he did. And if you remember, Ron Wood from Faces, he reunited with him for that, and they performed that together. Because his first solo album, he recorded while he was with Faces.
Right.
And Faces did the backing music to it. Rod was not a musician per se with Faces. He was a singer. He was the lead singer.
Reason to Believe, If I Listen Long Enough to You. I'm not going to sing it, Tripp.
No, please don't.
The other thing, and I'll get to what I consider to be the worst cover song of all time. But before we do that, I was kind of curious. I mean, the songs that we've talked about, Tripp, were hits in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Now we're 30 years past. I'm curious, what were the five most streamed songs today of Rod Stewart? Number 1 is Every Day. Number 2 is Do You Think I'm Sexy? Number 3, Maggie May. Number 4, All for Love. And the song, I posted this on Facebook. This song sounds like another song I haven't figured out, and that is the song called Sailing that was released back in 1975.
And it's funny you mentioned Sailing, because Rod Stewart's first greatest hits album included that song on it. And Sailing is one of those songs that just, does. The other one, and we haven't mentioned it, The Killing of Georgie Part 1 and 2, based on a real life incident that occurred in New York City. And we should mention that Rod, while he grew up in England, moved to America in the early 1970s, and that was one of the reasons why his music, he moved here for his musical career, and that's when his career really took off. And he has been based here in the United States for a while, although he does have a mansion over in England. And again, part of the reason he moved out of England was to escape the oppressive taxes, which is what all the musicians did, because English tax structure was very, very oppressive.
Now we got to get to the cover. Do you want to take a whack at a song that Rod Stewart covered that I consider to be the worst cover song of all time?
What do you think? I know if you say this old heart of mine, no. I will disagree wholeheartedly.
You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Man.
Oh, geez. All right. Yeah, I get that.
It's just,
you don't need to say anymore. I get it.
Hey, if you enjoy listening to Tripp, check him out weekday afternoons on Q105.3 in Savannah, Georgia. That's WRHQ.com, link down there, as well as WTRSradio.com, link down there. Find them on the TuneIn radio app. The Music Yearbook is on Facebook. That's a Tripp Rogers product. It's also on various stations, including Vinyl 91.9 WBNJ in New Jersey, 107.5 WRUU out of Savannah, Georgia. Hey, thanks for being here. Keep the coffee brewing, the conversation flowing, and those music memories spinning.